USC gets hit with a major coaching blow, and Christmas came early for the Dallas Wings as Chris Koclanes.
Chris Koclanes.
One more time, a little slower.
Yep, Koclanes.
Was announced as the Dallas Wings' newest head coach. Now, if you all are like, Chris Koclanes? Who is that? I've never heard of this guy. Well, let me tell you all about Chris. Now, he is really a basketball mind who has worked his way up from being a video coordinator all the way to the head coaching role. And he is in a great position to really succeed in Dallas. Now, here's the deal. Chris Koclanes, he began his basketball career in terms of on the sort of back end side of it in 2012 when Chris was hired to work in operations for William and Mary. He eventually did become the video coordinator at St. Joseph. He then used that experience to leverage and transition from men's basketball to women's basketball, getting a job as a video coordinator for USC women's basketball. As a video coordinator at USC, at the same time, he was also able to take a position with the Connecticut Sun. So while he was at USC, he was also with the Connecticut Sun as their video coordinator as well. He had that position at the Connecticut Sun from 2016 to 2019, at which point he then left USC completely and came over full-time to be an assistant coach and defensive coordinator for the Connecticut Sun.
Chris has been with us from the beginning, a very integral part of our staff behind the scenes as the video coordinator. I turned him loose with the guards after Nikki Collin had left, and he had a great first year with our guards last year. He is the brains behind our scouting operation and our video operation behind the scenes. So it was a natural promotion. Really excited to have him on the full-time staff. He had already been such a big part. I've called him the Sean McVay of women's basketball, that he has a chance to be an unbelievable WNBA coach at a very early age. He's got an it factor that's hard to explain. I've been around a lot of people, around a lot of coaches in my nearly 30 years in this profession, and Chris Koclanes has the it factor, and really excited that he has now full-time on the court with us and will take on even a bigger role on a daily basis for us.
He was in that role for 4 seasons, and during that time, y'all, the Connecticut Sun were on a straight-up roll. And y'all, if y'all know anything about Connecticut, y'all know their calling card, and it is defense, defense, defense. And that is Chris Koclanes' specialty. For sure, specialty. During his tenure as a assistant coach and defensive coordinator, we saw multiple first and second team all defensive nods for Connecticut Sun players. You had Alyssa Thomas, who made it 3 times. Jonquel Jones 3 times. Jasmine Thomas 2 times. January once. And we saw those players, we saw them do what they do, and it was to an excellent degree when it came to defense. For the post players, we saw agile players on their feet. We saw players with the ability to play hard-nosed defense without fouling out. And while they were not the league leaders in terms of block shots, the post players had the ability, especially JJ and Alyssa, had the ability to alter your shot, or better yet, steal the basketball before you even got it. And now we talk about the guards. When we talk about the guard play, we saw guards who knew how to sit down on defense, slide their feet, players who didn't just get blown by top players on the other team. No, these are players who took pride in their ability to defend and defend well. And this led to a lot of success for Connecticut. During Chris's time when he was an assistant coach, we saw the Connecticut Sun reach the WNBA semifinals twice, in 2000 and 2001. We saw them make it to the finals twice, in 2019 and in 2022. Though Connecticut did not win a championship, they did make it just about farther than everybody else in the WNBA. And a huge reason for that was the defense. And oh, by the way, if y'all didn't realize this, thing to note is that during the tenure of Chris Koclanes being with the Connecticut Sun, both as a video coordinator, then as a assistant coach and defensive coordinator, he was working for Curt Miller. Curt Miller was the head coach of the Connecticut Sun during that time. So when Curt Miller decided to leave Connecticut and go on over to LA and be the head coach of the LA Sparks, we saw Curt Miller bring some of his folks over, including Chris Koclanes, bringing him over to become a assistant coach and defensive coordinator with the LA Sparks. So we saw Chris have that role for 1 year in 2023. And then after that season was over, he then left the LA Sparks to head back over to USC. Now, this is a team that he had worked for previously as a video coordinator. Now he has leveled himself up to a point where now no longer video coordinator. Now you are a just straight up assistant coach for USC. And we all know how good USC was last year. We saw them go on have a fantastic, remarkable turnaround of a season. They were 29-6, and they made it to the Elite Eight for the first time in 30 years. Now, they were fantastic. And this year, they are off to a great start with the team enjoying a 40 wins to 7 losses in the 2 seasons that Chris has been an assistant coach. Now, in no way am I saying that the reason why USC turned it around is because of Chris Koclanes. No, that's not what I'm saying. But because, you do know that there's a girl named Juju Watkins who does play for USC. I don't know if y'all know that. Y'all may not know who she is, but she's a kind of a big deal and is a huge reason as to why USC even made it to the Elite Eight last year, and as to why they are having a pretty successful start to the season so far. So while I am not saying that Chris did it all on his own, I am saying that Chris is one of USC's best coaches, by far, best coach, especially in terms of assistant coaches, and the fact that he was a fantastic scout, right? The fact that he, again, started off as a video coordinator, and in a lot of ways, the video coordinators, they are looking at very particular details, and they're able to study the game and see the game a little bit differently than coaches who may not have been a video coordinator. Now, I think that Chris absolutely was a significant factor in USC winning games last year and winning games this season. Chris wasn't one of those assistant coaches that sort of backs off and, is a yes man for the head coach. No. We saw Chris active on the bench, coaching players up before and during games. So when Curt Miller took the job as the GM of the Dallas Wings and announced that he was looking for a head coach, it made sense that he was going to consider coaches that he previously worked with, because the WNBA is a small pool. It's a very, very small pool, and we see a lot of cross-pollination of where you may have worked for this coach in the past. You leave and go somewhere else. Eventually, you might wind your way back up working with that same person. That's why relationships are very important in life and in the WNBA, because you never know who you may need to rely on in the future, which is why, again, this is not basketball related, but in general, you should never leave a job on a bad note, because you never know. Maybe you may be working for your boss in the future. I'm just saying, you never know when you may interact with somebody in the future. And Chris Koclanes, everywhere he's been, people have had wonderful things to say about him. And so it made sense that when Curt Miller was like, you know what, I need to pick a head coach. I don't want to be I'm not the GM and the head coach anymore. I am the GM. And now I have to pick somebody who I trust, someone who I know, someone who I believe can take the Dallas Wings to the next level. And Curt Miller was thinking, pondering. And he was like, oh, you know what? I know who it is. It is going to be Chris Koclanes. And the reason why, I think in a lot of ways, is because Chris has a special niche. And, when you work your way up the basketball ladder, the way that he has done, you get special niches, right? There's certain focuses that you're like, that is my bread and butter. And for him, it's player development, and most importantly, for Curt Miller, defense. And it makes sense that after all the interviews with the various candidates, Curt Miller decided to pick Chris Koclanes as the new head coach of the Dallas Wings. Now, while this is fantastic for Chris and Dallas, this is a huge loss for USC and Lindsey Gottlieb, who, in my opinion, will absolutely feel Chris's absence in their scouting and just in their overall gameplay on definitely on defense, but also on the offensive end as well. Now, when Lindsey Gottlieb first hired Chris as an assistant coach, she knew just how special of a coach he was when she hired him. At the time, she said, Chris has extensive WNBA experience and can help our players see what it will take to get to that next level. He is also an elite teacher of the game, detail-oriented and forward-thinking. He'll help us in every aspect in schemes to player development. And that he did. And after he decided to leave for the Dallas Wings, Lindsey, of course, she isn't happy about it, but she did put on a brave face and put out a nice statement saying, we are thrilled for Chris to be named the new head coach of the Dallas Wings. Chris has a unique ability to see the game, break down the game, and then transfer that knowledge to players in clear and relatable ways. He's a true teacher with the ability to connect with people. Chris came to us from the WNBA and immediately brought a new and important element to our staff and players. He's been a huge part of our growth trajectory at USC, and now we are proud and excited to see him lead the Wings. So that is the statement that she put out. Of course, you got to say something nice about the assistant coach that is leaving you for a head coach position, because yeah, even though Lindsey is probably like, oh darn it, now I gotta recruit somebody in, and you know there's a tough part about us already having the season started, and Chris is leaving. He started the season with the team, and now he is leaving and packing his bags and going all the way to Dallas, and now mid-season USC got to figure it out, right? They have to figure out a way to plug the hole that Chris is leaving for USC, and just about everybody who has worked with Chris in the past has put out statements saying how awesome it is that he is going to be getting a head coaching role. And I think that's huge. It says a lot. It says a lot that when you get elevated, there's people who were around for your climb to be like, you know what? That's a good guy. He knows what he's talking about. And I believe in him and what he will do for the Dallas Wings. Now, Baylor head coach Nicki Collen, who commented and said that Chris Koclanes is an outstanding hire for the Dallas Wings. He has an elite basketball mind as well as the work ethic and communication skills to build trust and confidence. And current USC guard Talia von Oelhoffen said the future of the game is in the right hands if hires like this continue. The most selfless human I have ever been around. I can't wait to see what your impact will be as a head coach, but I'm going to miss you, but I can't express how happy I am for you. Now, again, that just shows, that's just some of the comments that have been pouring in since Chris has accepted the role as the Dallas Wings' newest head coach. And to sum it all up here is what Curt Miller had to say about the hire. He said, we are thrilled to welcome Chris Koclanes as the new head coach of the Dallas Wings. Throughout our extensive search and interview process, Chris continued to rise to the top and check the boxes of our important pillars. He is a servant leader who places a high value on connection, collaboration, and positive and consistent communication style with all those he coaches. Chris is a fantastic teacher of the game and has an outstanding basketball IQ. He is committed to player development and has a forward-thinking and innovative mind for the game. He's a tireless worker with a foundation built through preparation. In addition to his proven on-court skill, Chris possesses values that align perfectly with the Dallas Wings, including a shared focus on positively impacting the community and developing our players off the court. There are so many incredible things on the horizon for this franchise, including a new arena, a state-of-the-art practice facility, and an opportunity to select the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming WNBA draft. And we are confident Chris is the right person to lead the team into the next era of Dallas Wings basketball. All right, so that is what Curt Miller had to say about Chris Koclanes. And to be honest with you guys, I'm pretty excited to see what Chris is able to do. Now, here's the thing. Dallas has been a confusing thing since they've been in Dallas, right? It was originally the Detroit Shock, then they moved over to Tulsa, became the Tulsa Shock, then they moved to Dallas, became the Dallas Wings. They are playing in the suburbs. They're going to be moving to the city, which is going to be great in a bigger arena. This is a team that, yes, has Arike Ogunbowale, who can absolutely put up buckets and put up numbers. You also have a player like Asatu Sabli, who is a straight-up bona fide unicorn, a post player who has guard-like skills and kind of do anything she wants on the court. And you had players who were able to sort of be role players, but there wasn't a real identity for the Dallas Wings. You had Latricia Trammell as your head coach. She lasted 2 seasons until she got fired. After this year, that really was a dumpster fire for Dallas in terms of their ability to actually win on the basketball court. They were atrocious this season. Yes, we did see Satsu Sabli have injuries for the first half of the year, but still, they did severely underperform. So the team was like, you know what? Let's move on. Latricia Trammell, you are out. Let's bring in a GM and Curt Miller. Let's find a new head coach, and let's figure out a path forward, because this is something that this team has to do, right? Natasha Howard, she said that she does not want to return back to the team. You have the bigs in terms of Tierra McCowan and Kalani Brown. You got to figure out what you want to do on that front. This is a team that, yes, you have Arike, but that's about all you really have. You have JC Sheldon, who I think ultimately will turn out to be a fantastic coach, fantastic pro. You got Maddie Segrist, who also has had a, in my opinion, really good season this year, especially before she got injured. This is a team that is poised for growth. They're very, very young, and they're hungry to make something happen. And I think bringing in a coach like Chris, who is able to, who's been proven to develop players over time and has been proven to have that defensive focus, which sometimes Dallas does lack. I think this is going to be a huge W, especially considering the fact that Dallas has the number 1 pick for the WNBA draft for 2024, which likely they will be picking Paige Bueckers. Now, here is what Chris said about the number 1 pick and his excitement about it.
Yeah, it's extremely exciting, right? Number 1 pick can really revitalize a franchise. So I'm excited just about the energy and the momentum that will create to then, like, let's take that, let's bottle it up, and now let's use it and let's build off of it as we look to establish our foundation in year 1 to propel us into the future to create ultimately something that's sustainable and long-lasting at a championship level.
And if you're wondering about Chris's style overall, here is what he had to say.
And then what excites you the most about this opportunity to be the head coach at the Dallas Wings?
A lot of things. I think the number 1 thing is just the ability to kind of take everything that I've learned, all the great teachers, leaders, coaches, mentors that I've been able to work for and learn from, to take all of that and honor them and build something, while at the same time now making it my own and being true and authentic to who I am at my core. So that's what excites me. I'm excited to create an environment where our players and staff can really enjoy what we're doing, while at the same time respecting how hard it's going to be, how much discipline, how much work that goes into it. But at the same time, again, just having that sense of that we can find joy in this process.
Now, guys, I am curious to hear what you all think about this hire. Now, personally, I think it's a hire that makes a lot of sense to me, right? But guys, I have to say, is it just me? Is it just me? Or do we see a good amount of these newer coaches, these newer head coaches have a video coordinator in their bio? Like it feels like this is not, like, it feels like this is a thing, not just in women's basketball, but in men's basketball, in football. We see a lot of, formerly, this person was a video coordinator. Like, this is a thing that we see. And I'm just like, man, what is it about video coordinators? But I guess I kind of get it, right? When you're a video coordinator, you are just in the weeds, right? You are studying film. You're looking at every little bitty detail. And then you have to break it down to share it with your team. And it makes sense that, like, those video coordinators, the good ones, will eventually level up into a head coaching role. Because studying film is a really good skill that the best head coaches have to know eventually. And it makes sense that a lot of these head coaches now are getting to that position through being a video coordinator. So yeah, that's just something I noticed. Like, I don't know. Have y'all noticed the same thing? Like, it is not just a basketball thing. I actually also see it in football as well, where you see, like, former video coordinators, like, several jobs ago, that person was a video coordinator. But anyway, that's a random tangent. But anyway, let's continue on. Now, here's the thing. I know a lot of people have talked about the new head coaches in the WNBA, and some people are upset. Like, hey, why isn't these people like, why are you picking these people to be the head coach? Why aren't you picking these other people, or blah 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 blah? Here's the thing, guys. There are only 12 head coaching roles in the WNBA, now 13 with the new Golden State Valkyries team. There will be 14 and 15 come 2026. Coaching is a very elite field, especially at a head coaching role. And yes, there are awesome coaches that could have been picked to be the Dallas Wings' newest head coach, but they weren't picked. I don't think this is one of those things where the WNBA or teams themselves are against certain people in selecting them to be a head coach. I really do think what it is that, if you have experience working with someone, they do have that extra little oomph when you're considering hiring someone for a role, and you're like, you know what, I worked with this person. Not only is this person great on paper, not only is does people have awesome stuff to say about this person, but I also have personally experienced working with this person. I know what they can do. I believe in them. Yada yada. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really do think that there is. I don't think this is a conspiracy. Like, I saw people saying it, like, getting upset the fact that, like, there's only one black woman coach in the WNBA. To be honest with you, now some of y'all gonna be really mad at me when I say this, but I don't think it's a big deal. I don't. I don't think the idea that because the WNBA is a primarily black thing, that black females have to be the main coaches. Like, sure, if there's more black coaches, is that great? Black women coaches, is that great? Yeah, sure, whatever. Here's the thing. Coaches, what I want is new coaches to have opportunities. And what we have seen is we have seen that the recent head coaches that have been hired are, in large cases, first-time head coaches in the WNBA, which I think is a great thing. I want more opportunities for people, and I think it's great that we're seeing new WNBA head coaches come into the fold. Now, I don't care about their race. I don't care about their gender. I am very curious to see ultimately how they do, because we had a lot of new coaches come through, and there's some other coaches that came through that I have not covered yet. I will be making videos updating you all about the other coaches in the WNBA. But yeah, I'm cool with it. I don't have a problem with it. Honestly, yes, there absolutely could have been some other coaches that could have been hired, and I would have been fine with that too. Ultimately, there can only be one head coach for each team, and you got to make your decision. You got to make it. You got to stick with it for at least 1 year or less if you're the Chicago Sky, and you got to move on. And we have. I'm excited to see ultimately what Chris is able to do because, again, you have the number 1 pick for the Dallas Wings. This guy has proven to be a really good coach in the past, and I'm curious to see ultimately how he does with the Wings. We'll see ultimately, but it should be a fun ride. It should be a very, very fun ride. So my question is, are you a Dallas Wings fan? What do you think about Chris being hired as the new head coach? Are you excited? Are you upset? Are you worried? What's your thoughts about that? Also, do you think it will affect Satu Sabli's choice to decide to stay with the Dallas Wings or not? Ultimately, I don't think it affects that. I think she's going to do whatever she wants to do, which likely will be to leave Dallas, but we'll see. They do have the number 1 pick, and so the question is, if Paige enters the draft, I'm sure they're going to pick her as the number 1 pick, but if she doesn't, maybe you get Dominique Malagon. She's really good, the French player. So lots of things for Chris and Curt to talk about, to work through. But ultimately, I am excited about it. And also, I do have to say, shout out to the Dallas Wings social media team for putting together what I thought was a fantastic rollout for Chris Koclanes. Like the videos that they put out, sort of introducing him as a person, the graphics that they put out, love it. Let's keep leveling up our game for WNBA social media because that really does help more people to engage with the content. So that is the video. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all in the next one. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.